Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ritual Chamber. I am Josh, this is Jeff, and today we are going to be giving our take on Marvel's newest cinematic release, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Yes. T'Challa the Black Panther passes away suddenly from an unknown illness. With Wakanda left without its king and protector, the nations of the world set their eyes on seizing vibranium from the nation or by finding it from other sources. They unintentionally draw out the ire of the underwater nation of Talokan and their ruler Namor.
Ooh, nice. I like that.
I had to stop myself from writing more, but then I realized that was a solid 3-sentence banger.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And I think it's a good summation of the movie.
Yeah. Without going into everything else that goes on.
Yes.
Trying to summarize a 3-hour-long movie is kind of hard.
It adds the intensity. Yeah, and one thing about this movie that I found very surprising was that it was 3 hours long. That it was 3 hours. That I didn't do my research there, so when we came out of the theater and I looked at the time, I was like, oh shit, I guess I'm not doing anything for the remainder of the night. As enjoyable as this movie was, there was some downtime, and I don't know if it was necessarily
It didn't need to be 3 hours long.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it was a kid-friendly movie.
Let's call out the thing. Didn't need to be 3 hours long.
Yeah.
At all. And there's a lot of dead weight in here. Overall, I really loved it. I mean, really, it's a masterclass in acting. I will say that.
Yes, absolutely.
From Angela Bassett to Letitia Wright to Denai Guerrera. And I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm sorry, but Tanaka Mahia. Might be close enough.
Yeah.
It's a masterclass in acting, and the characters are just wonderfully written, and this movie did have a lot to do, so I understood why it was going to be 3 hours long. I mean, that kind of made sense, but then watching it, it was there's a lot of dead weight here. That it didn't need the big one that will just to get it out of the way, because she's sort of a big character in the overall plot, but minor in the film, which is Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne. She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
She really doesn't need to be. Mm-hmm. They could have introduced her and had her just sort of be kind of taken in by Shuri and Okoye, but having her make her Ironheart armor was kind of just wasted time.
Yeah, and I think that with this movie, obviously this was a difficult thing to come into because this obviously was not what was intended for this sequel, right?
No, funnily enough, even though this wasn't what it was intended for the sequel, this actually would have marked Chadwick Boseman's final film in his original contract.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
But I think it's actually kind of interesting. It's just...
this movie, like you said, it does have a lot of ground to cover.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to deal with Chadwick Boseman's death. You have to deal with it in universe. Mm-hmm. Find a way to make that work. That why he died off screen, which I think they do. Okay enough.
I actually liked it, to be honest. Yeah. I thought it was done very well because.
I mean, what were you gonna do?
Yeah, but it came into it. I like that they didn't try to use any CGI or anything, it just comes into it with this incident is happening, and they're trying to find a solution, and we have Letitia Wright Shuri going through this, trying to figure out how she can save him with technology and going through scenarios. And I thought it worked really well. I thought it was really powerful beginning scene in this movie.
No, it worked really well. It's just funny that even Chadwick Boseman's own family, they were like, if you want to CGI him, that's totally fine. If you want to recast him, Chadwick wasn't such a egotistical person that
no, absolutely not, from everything that I've heard. But so I mean, it sets a stage for this movie, and obviously we go through the events of Wakanda having to deal with King T'Challa's death and kind of the ramifications of that.
Done so well.
It is done very well.
And it's the other thing that's done so well about it is that it comes in and it's just right there. He's dying. It's sure he's trying to recreate the heart-shaped herb, which Killmonger in the previous film burnt them all.
Yeah.
And she's trying to do it synthetically through science and just ran out of time. And they make a mention or a point in this movie to even kind of point out that T'Challa, much like Chadwick, had kept his illness a secret
Yeah.
To his family. So sure, he does feel a little bit of a blame, and Letitia Wright is just fucking nails it in this movie. Like she is.
No,
I mean, obviously spoilers. We're going to spoil a lot in this movie, but everyone knew she was going to be the Black Panther.
Yeah.
If you had any assumptions, okay, I had a slight assumption that maybe Nakia would have become the Black Panther, maybe. And I had a slight twinge of hope that M'Baku was going to become the Black Panther, just because I love Winston Duke and especially him playing M'Baku, like the way he plays. I mean, all the little like monkey, the ape.
Yeah.
That fucking shit just had me going. I just thought it was so cool and fun.
Yeah.
And especially he also has a very, I want to say commanding presence.
No, he does, and he's also very stoic, and definitely gives the appearance of a character that's in a leadership type of role, and that can be a leader.
And he does lead the Jabari.
Yeah.
But and he also, just like T'Challa, had kind of both worlds. Like he was about scientific invention, or innovation. Sorry. But also about the old ways and kind of tradition. Yes. And even so much so that in the first film, he mocks Shuri and he mocks Ramonda for scoffing tradition.
Yeah.
And it's funny, in this movie, Shuri actually kind of throws that back in his face a little bit.
You know, like you said, we come to the point of them having to deal with vibranium getting into the wrong hands, and that leads to, you know,
ostensibly an arms race.
Yes, yeah, and
because as I said in the synopsis, the nations of the world are now looking at Wakanda as like they're leaderless, they're weak.
Yeah, exactly.
We've already been shown in Civil War and Black Panther that the rest of the world kind of sees Wakanda as this third world nation that just happens to have
this technology.
So they might think they're rolling in on shanty towns and stuff. They don't know there's this big metropolis.
And that's what sets the stage for Talakon and Namor to be introduced. And I just think that was great. It was great to watch that unfold. And Cuckoo Clan, just
I don't know how to pronounce it properly.
It was fantastic. I know that we had this conversation before prior to this movie coming out, and you said you weren't particularly fond of the character design for Namor.
Yeah, I mean,
and I loved it. I thought this worked so well. I really enjoyed it.
I think a little confession here. And a lot of people have fan casted Luke Evans as Namor, and because he just looks like him. It's just fucking perfect casting. However, Tanaka Mahea, again, probably butchering his name, but you know, we'll deal with it. The one thing about his design that I didn't really care for was just the too busy, the piercings, especially the nose piercing. It kept just kind of annoying me. That's design choice, totally whatever, just my opinion. But I did love the idea that they were taking it from instead of doing it Atlantis, it's a Mesoamerican.
Yeah,
Incan and Mayan like going into the ocean, and that's how Talokan comes to be.
And I thought that was very clever.
Because you also, and again, because another thing because this is about the nations of the world, basically kind of throwing down like, oh, we can get in there, we can take their resources. That it just harkens back to colonization. Between colonization of Africa, colonization of the Americas, and how indigenous peoples were displaced, murdered, among other things. And so it really does have this great theme about colonization and the big bad, rulers of quote unquote powerful nations thinking that these people are just savages.
Yeah.
And we can just move in on them because we're bigger, we're better.
Yeah. Tanaka Mahea, because I'm probably botching that as well.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a couple other things, and I think he's a wonderful actor. He was in The Forever Purge.
Oh, really?
I've seen him in something.
I still haven't seen The Forever Purge.
I thought he was really great in this role. I really loved his iteration of Namor. And like you said, I love the way that they went with the Mesoamerican. I really liked that because I felt like it was, like you said, they could have gone Atlantean, but then also at that point, right? Like we don't know what Atlantis is because we don't, obviously there's no recollection that we have any knowledge of it.
Atlantis was proposed by Plato, and it's all Greco-Roman.
Yeah.
So you get this, so Greco-Roman, obvious imperialistic vibes.
Yeah.
But with the Mayan aspect or the Mesoamerican aspect, you're getting like you get that colonization thing
yes.
And it's kind of really in the forefront, even from Namor's backstory. And I love the way, like you said, his iteration of Namor is actually really great because the Namor in the comics is very kind of unevenly keeled. Like he just kind of, he can flip on a dime.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean,
he's actually known as like, he's like, not only is he actually like in comic books the first actual superhero. Like wasn't made by science or something. He's just super powered, and he's just he is. Look it up. But he's also the first anti-hero in comic books, and he's been an anti-hero since the beginning. He's always been written as kind of a loose cannon, can kind of.
Well,
he's either your friend or until he's not.
Yeah, and he because he has no real loyalty except to
to himself and to
his people, you know. And I think that with that, this was done very well. And again, because we have no idea what Atlantis was, I thought this was a great way to introduce that idea. Yeah. And especially, Mayan cultures being as advanced as people had assumed that they were during the time, it worked well into assimilating that into this movie. And I thought
and especially the way they did Talokan, even though I did think it was a little bit busy, was certainly done way better than, like, just kind of busy. There was a lot going on.
I mean, when they first get in there, it's like eyes wide shut underwater. I'm just what?
In fact, he even said that to me.
Like, why are there so many bodies just floating around, you know?
And like, but it makes sense. They're deep underwater, and that's kind of what they're doing. And you kind of have that, it's weird because it's again, kind of the same thing with Wakanda. You have this idea of, I'm just going to throw it out there. The white man thinking the brown or black man is less civilized, but living a less, living a life that's less based on, say, economy or production or status is actually a more evolved form of life.
Yeah, exactly.
We have it fucking backwards because we work ourselves to the bone, whereas like people like these communities that work for each other and making sure the tribe is thriving and making sure the people in the community are thriving, like that's the way life should be, and that's kind of like the way Talokan is, and that's the way Wakanda is.
Yeah, it's quality.
And then you have
life.
the rest, quality of life, and then the rest of the world is like, no, we want your stuff.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of the Gungan city.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, in the way that it looked, but overall, I really liked the way that they were able to do it. All the movements and just the whole concept of being underwater looked very natural. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually really curious to know, like, we'll find out later.
And unlike what they typically do,
how they film those scenes,
exactly,
because they looked very natural.
Unlike what they typically do in, like, say, like Aquaman, where like it just seems like everyone's walking in water.
In water,
like,
instead they of like, actually were good. They looked like they were underwater, functioning underwater, around, floating and having to swim. There was resistance there in their movements. And
speaking of, Namor predates Aquaman by 2 or 3 years. Just throwing out there.
So I thought that was really good. But one character I'd like to touch on in this is
another fun little fact. Tanaka Mejia couldn't swim before he took the job. And when Ryan Coogler was like, he's like, well, I've never drowned before either. So,
well, I guess if you've never swam, you've never probably had the opportunity of drowning. So,
and Namor actually calls himself out as a mutant.
Yeah, that was a good. Yeah, that was good because
understated.
Because we're finally getting there. We're getting a little taste of it all the time, and so it's going to be really exciting to see when mutants are fully introduced in a larger capacity.
Yeah, and now we can do it where they're doing it sort of slowly and very
giving the build up, which I think is good.
And, the way Marvel's always done things, like just kind of slowly building stuff up and slowly introducing little things, and then later they'll pay off.
Yeah, but I do have to say Angela Bassett in this was fantastic.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
sorry, did no one else go to like summer camp?
But
round of applause.
No, I didn't.
No,
not that I remember.
Like I said earlier, masterclass in acting.
Yes, I mean she
brings it. Stella got her goddamn groove back.
Yeah, I think she was really the highlight of this movie when it came to acting. I think just the strength in her character.
That fucking speech she gives
is just. I mean, it's fantastic.
That
and she just
fucking
did
speech she gives in the beginning. In the beginning, when she gives that speech to the United Nations, is flawless.
Yeah.
And she just commands that room.
Absolutely.
And even
delivery.
Her delivery, and she just fucking rules that room and shoves everything the United Nations is saying to her back in their face, and just goes like, you want to come again. And that's a really cool scene. I'm just going to break it down for you real quick. The United Nations are basically saying like, you guys said you would come out and share your resources with us, and you have yet to do that. And we want some of your vibranium, basically. And it's intercut with a scene of basically mercenary soldiers breaking into a Wakandan outpost to try to steal some vibranium. Well, you realize this happened before, and so they actually bring in the soldiers, and they know where the soldiers came from, and they basically point out to France, go like, we knew these came from you guys. And just the way she's like just strong and just hearty, like, and she's basically saying like, you guys are not getting vibranium because clearly you don't know what to, like, you can't have your toy back because you can't have this toy because you clearly aren't ready to use it.
You're not ready to use it. You're not prepared for it.
And but then her other speech to Okoye, which it was funny because I remember kind of like about a half an hour in, I remembered the scene from the first trailer when she does the whole haven't I given everything? Or haven't I lost everything? And I was like, wow, like I can't believe they cut that, because I figured that would be in the United Nations speech. I couldn't believe they cut that. And then that scene with Okoye, and she does that, and I'm like, I had to hold back tears because it was just so powerful and so raw and real. And I think even Angela Bassett was probably even channeling a little bit of hurt from losing Chadwick Boseman. Also, there was another states, one of the Wakandan states people. This was also their last film too. Dorothy something, and I wrote it down, and then I realized she's like barely in it, and I haven't seen her in anything else, but it was also her last film.
Okay. But yeah, Angela Bassett, I mean, honestly, just in this film, I mean, obviously we do see the end of her character in this as well, which is one thing that a couple things that I had taken issue with this movie was kind of the amount of loss that we saw in this movie to propel Shuri into where she became the Black Panther. And like you said earlier too, I do, Dominique Thorne, I thought did a great job, but I felt that the character was really irrelevant. It was really a filler character. And I think
she has one point in the story, which is she's the one who created the vibranium finding, vibranium detector.
Yeah.
And then Namor wants to kill her, obviously, because he doesn't want people finding vibranium. And under Talokan, because Talokan is also powered by vibranium. And so if you do that, you can introduce her and then go, oh, she made an Iron Man-esque suit for herself. But now we're just protecting her. And leave it at that. Like, don't get her into the fight. Don't get her...
And I think that's something that Marvel recently has had this tendency to do, which is try to... What made Marvel so successful, I think, was kind of slowly rolling out characters and slowly having introduction into the universe and slowly creating these characters in this universe and then give a really big payoff.
Yeah.
And I feel that recently there's been this kind of rushing of let's just get these things out there. Let's have these things unfold. Let's introduce these characters. And in this case, why it didn't work for me is it took away from important aspects of the movie that I felt like needed more focus. And
I
case in
there.
point, because I think we have to assume, obviously, with Namor living, that he's going to come back. He's going to probably be a staple character in the MCU going forward. There was more time to focus on that character, to focus on the relationship and the character development that he formed with Shuri, in introducing her to Telecon. Also, just maybe exploring more of his character than to bring in another character to have her be a subplot to something that may down the line be more important. But this wasn't the platform for it for me. I just didn't think it worked that well for me. I
get what you're saying, and I do agree. I think and for me it's a question of length of the film. Like I think there's just a filler that could have been cut. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of Riri stuff could have been cut. She could have been introduced. Maybe a tease at the end of her Ironheart armor.
Yeah,
maybe something like that. I think actually but I do wildly disagree. The thing you have to remember though, Namor in this film is the villain. He's the Killmonger, and so we got everything we needed from his backstory. Mm-hmm. We got his origin. We got his him bonding with Shuri, and that's why he lives at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but there again, the idea is my only thing is that I think Riri is just kind of wasted time for a good chunk of it. She has a point in the main plot. Like, she does need to be there for the plot to kind of happen.
Yeah, but they could have used anybody in that case as somebody who created this.
Yeah, but then it would be the same. But it would be the same argument about it would have to be someone like it would be like Amadeus Cho.
I know, but I'm just saying
it would have to be someone.
Let's consider the fact that Loki has also been a villain in Marvel movies, and look at what they've done with this character, and look what they even did with him.
No, for sure.
So like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but again, like we got enough of Namor showing Shuri Talokan and like bonding. We did,
yeah, but I just think that moving forward, if he's going to be a staple that he will be, that we know he's going to be, because Namor is a huge character in the comics.
Yeah,
we obviously know this is not the last time that we're going to see him.
No, but that's the
by
thing.
far.
But that's the thing. They're 100% going to expand on him, and they're going to expand on Riri in the Ironheart series. But
I think they could have been done separately. I don't think this was a platform to introduce both of them with everything that was going on.
I think you can introduce Riri. It's just not have her be such a big part near the end of the film.
That's what I'm saying, more or less.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's really a problem.
And I think the last thing I think that kind of I think one thing that took away from this movie for me too is, again, getting back onto that pace and kind of rushing things. Mm-hmm. When you get to the end of this movie, right, you have the final confrontation between Namor and Shuri, and she has this idea that, obviously in her visions, she sees Killmonger, which we see Michael B. Jordan return as that character. Not
obviously. That was a huge fucking reveal.
Yeah, but we see him in the vision, and she has this idea that she is not her brother, right? And is more fueled by this concept of vengeance because of all the loss that she's experienced.
Correct. Yeah, that's why she sees Killmonger.
Exactly.
I mean, frankly, he fucking says it to her.
No, exactly. And so what this reminded me of, and again, this is where I felt like this movie had rushed a little bit too much, and possibly because of just what they were trying to fit into a 3-hour window. When you get to the final confrontation and you have Shuri sitting over there, basically, obviously what their intention is to watch Namor die at her hands, right?
You can fucking not watch it. Do the thing.
They have...
as Killmonger says, take care of business.
Yeah, and they have... Basically what happens is a flashback, or not a flashback, but I guess like a vision of the similarities between their cultures, mm-hmm. and why she shouldn't make that choice. And then you have a vision of Ramonda being there and saying, show him who you really are.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is a callback to Black Panther, where Ramonda says that to T'Challa during his fight with M'Baku.
Exactly. But...
And also, I just love saying M'Baku.
But the thing is, where it doesn't work for me here is that it just didn't feel that climactic, the way that, if you look at it, a similar movie that did this was Spider-Man No Way Home. where Peter Parker is literally fueled by vengeance to kill Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Because he killed Aunt May.
Okay.
And then you have to have this conversation with Peter Parker and other Peter Parkers to let him know that taking a life because a life has been taken is not the right way. I thought it was much more impactful in this movie. It felt rushed. They basically come to the conclusion that he yields. They come over. Everybody stops fighting. Go to your corners, and the movie takes on.
The problem is you're comparing apples and oranges.
I am comparing apples and oranges, but if you're gonna follow those, if those are the standards that you're gonna set, then they need to be followed more closely. I think in a way that's done better than this movie did.
I think you're missing a lot of subtext. I think you're missing a lot of subtext.
I mean, it could be possible. It's just the way that it appeared to me. Because it came off rushed.
I mean, again, using No Way Home as an example, right there you have two other Spider-Men who've kind of gone through similar things, basically physically there to tell them. Here you have a spiritual people and but also a technological people, and she is the daughter of technology who just scoffs at religion, scoffs at tradition.
Yeah.
But in the very beginning of the film, she does pray to Bast.
Yeah.
To try to save her brother, but even says in her prayer, "If you save my brother, I will believe in you."
Yeah,
but so what that is it's her. When she has the vision, she does take the synthetic heart-shaped herb as just to get the power, and that's why she sees Killmonger.
Yeah,
but in that moment, because she had been to Talokan, and it kind of again, I'm kind of disagreeing with what you said previously about rushing things with Namor. The reason she has that realization, and the reason Ramonda calls out to her from the plane, the planes, that because the way their religion works, they don't believe in death.
In death, yeah.
It's just another stepping off point. That then Ramonda, that's why Ramonda is calling out to her because I think anybody who ever gets vengeful, I mean, even Peter Parker in No Way Home, you. In the back of your mind, you're doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. In the back of your mind, that vengeance just anger leads hate leads something, whatever, however the fucking that thing goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean. In the back of your head, you always know that. And even again, once doing the thing, getting the vengeance doesn't make you feel any better.
Yeah.
So, maybe I don't know about rushed. I mean, she kicks his ass and she just tells him to yield. And then she says, yield, or and not only that, she says, yield, or I will kill you.
Yeah.
And I'll kill your entire people.
Yeah.
She basically, she kind of gives him the same threat that he did to her
absolutely
a lot earlier in the film. So it's not, I don't think it's rushed. It's just a mirroring. This film is dealing with a lot of themes of vengeance, culture, and making those wrong moves, especially on a global scale when you're talking about nations doing that. And even then, even before that, Namor, he's almost trying to recruit Shuri and Wakanda into a war against everyone else.
He is, and obviously he is, because he brings up the reference of what she was saying, that she just wants to see everything burn.
Yeah, which is what Killmonger wanted to do, and so that's why she sees Killmonger, and that's why she's fueled by it. But I think in that moment, she's kicked his ass, she's won the fight.
To me, it didn't feel because the way that it should have felt, and I think
I don't know. To me, it felt the way it should have felt.
That's your opinion. You know what I mean? I'm just.
I think it landed.
I'm speaking on my own opinion that it didn't land for me.
Yeah.
It didn't have the weight and brevity that it needed.
We may have the same idea on intros. But
yes. And so I think, but
so let's talk about her Black Panther suit. Again, this was not a spoiler at all. You didn't really. Like I got to be honest. When it came out, I was like, people were like, online, like, please don't spoil anything, blah blah blah. What was going to be spoiled? Like, you knew Chadwick Boseman was dead, and you knew Shuri was going to be Black Panther. Why? Because again, the only other option was maybe Nakia. There's no way it would have been Okoye.
Who let's obviously give Lupita Nyong'o a shout out for her acting in this, because she was great. She was awesome in this movie. It was good to see her reprise that role.
Yeah.
And she did a fantastic job. But yeah, to your wanting to talk about the suit, I really liked it. I thought
I
it was
did.
great.
I did. My one little down, and it just was kind of like because M'Baku, again, I will say that anytime I have a chance to. M'Baku has the him and Shuri have this sort of mentor-mentee style relationship. Like he's almost like a surrogate big brother now. And I think you know, after even it's shown in Black Panther and Infinity War and Endgame, well, not so much Endgame, but that he really did care for Wakanda, even though his tribe, they worship the Saruman. Is it Saruman? Or Hatuman? That's also probably still wrong, but I'll put it up there. But they moved up to the hills. They're part of the Wakandan tribes, and they were still peaceful with them. They just kind of didn't like their ways. They were a little bit more traditional. And
they just disagreed, and that's okay.
But he has become it's our entire friendship is based on this. So but you know how he's become a surrogate brother and kind of a counsel to he's part of the head councils, and the little discussion when they're talking about after Namor's attack on Wakanda, after they're talking about moving everyone up to the hills where the Jubari are, and he discusses it with her, and he's asking her like, should we do that? Is the right thing to do? Like you're basically the leader now, and you know that's when she kind of throws back things he said to her back in the first one, and he realizes that that she's strong enough and she can do this. And then when she shows up as the Black Panther in her new suit, that fucking
scene,
the arm wrestle scene, it was basically like from Predator when fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm forgetting his name,
Jesse Ventura.
No, it wasn't Jesse Ventura. It was Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers. When they do the bam, like that was awesome. And I really, 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 and I thought it would have been really, really cool to have M'Baku, again, say it anytime I can have the chance, give her part of his cape as like an accoutrement to her outfit, because in the comics her original had that kind of a main thing. And it was just kind of like M'Baku does. That would have been really, really cool. But I thought it was really cool, and it was really cool symmetry to the fact that she had the vision about Killmonger, and hers had the gold and black, just like Killmonger's. Yeah. And then also the ceremonial paint that she had when she fought Killmonger during the little civil war they had. Yeah. So we have spent a long time talking about characters, and we've barely we've touched on the plot too. One other character real quick I just want to discuss again, kind of didn't really need to be there as much as he was, but he's sort of a staple, was Martin Freeman as Everett Ross. Yes, yeah.
I thought he added just a good element.
A little bit.
Yeah, good. A
little bit overused, but good.
But was good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's nice to see the world building here. And so it is nice to see all these characters kind of come in and pop in, even if they're little cameos.
Yeah. And even to see Julia Louis-Dreyfus as
exactly.
As
Director Fontaine.
Director Fontaine. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. And realizing that she's not in some shady organization. She's the fucking head of the CIA. Which is, the head, the shady organization. But still, like, she's not just like, it's like in Civil War when, Rhodey says, this isn't S.H.I.E.L.D., this isn't Hydra, this isn't the World Council, this is the United Nations. So it's like the CIA.
Yeah. But yeah, it is always good to see those characters just make appearances in whatever they are, because it really does expand upon the world and gives every character some importance in whatever involvement they have, and I really like that.
But one other thing I did want to touch on was the soundtrack. Yeah, I'm not a big hip hop guy. It's not really my thing. I do like some hip hop, but
you don't say.
I'm aggressively white. What do you want? But I actually do like some hip hop. I'm not a huge fan, so I'm more like selective. Like I like really good hip hop, like, or not to say like bad hip hop or whatever, but like when there's a really good song or something that I just hits me, I dig it. The soundtrack of this was just hitting constantly.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was absolutely fantastic.
There is a trend, not a trend, but I think I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but there is a tendency to go straight hip hop whenever there's a African American centric film, regardless of the fucking theme or like regardless of the plot or whatever type of movie it is. Mm-hmm. No, it can be a goddamn Western, and it's like there's one African American guy in it, and it's a hip hop the trailer has hip hop in it. It was like the Black Panther, the original Black Panther movie. It was that trailer was just a hip hop song, some random hip hop song.
I think it was like Kendrick Lamar, so it's not that random.
Whatever. No, but you know what I mean. Like it's like it has to be. It's like because it's the African American centric, or in this case, actually African centric. It has to be hip hop. Mm-hmm. And this one, I loved it. It was more of like a lo-fi beat type of hip hop. Like it was really, I don't know, it was really cool. And and a lot of the areas where they played kind of full songs, again, kind of going into, there was some fat that kind of could have been trimmed here. Like there was like one scene where it's a montage and they played like basically a full song, a full 6-minute long song that could have been cut down to 3 minutes. But it was really cool and it was really beautifully done. And even the scenes in the beginning where they're, all the tribal singing for the funeral pyre.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to notice or mention just real quick about the funeral, the Wakandan funeral procession, is the tractor beam. That was weird.
I thought the tractor beam
was weird.
I thought it was weird too. I wasn't a huge fan of it.
And especially being a culture that, even though they are technologically advanced, you'd think they'd have a more traditional, like a funeral pyre or something along those lines.
I thought that was also kind of silly.
Yeah, it was silly.
Didn't really understand like the importance of it. Just in general, I just thought it was kind of silly. Like
maybe they fly him off to a ceremonial burial ground, but then why don't you go to the burial ground?
Why don't? And we not? It was never explored as to why that happened. So I agree with you. I think one last thing I'd like to touch on before we get into monkeys, though, for this was obviously special effects. Mm-hmm. This movie was chock full of it.
Of course.
And
again, eyes wide shut scene underwater.
But one thing that I really liked in this, that I really enjoyed a lot, was Namor and the special effects that they did for his character.
And though his flying
and his movements looked so natural, and
it was almost like air stepping.
Yeah, it was very clean and just the way that it was done, because when you have a character that flies, I think everybody kind of assumes more of a Superman.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody who can just move fast and kind of float in the air. And I love the way that his character moved, because it had it was rigid, but
it was almost
fluid.
Almost like a hummingbird.
Yeah,
the way a hummingbird
was very well done, very well said. And considering that he is the wind serpent, having these kind of just fast, quick, rigid movements through the air, and it wasn't. Again, it was fluid at times, but for the most part, I loved it. I loved.
He was like a basketball player in air.
Yeah,
or like a figure skater or something.
Like the character design of that, and the way cool. that it looked.
And actually do it comic book accurate, doing the wings.
Yeah, doing the
wings,
which
kind of helped with the stepping and stuff.
And the way that it looked, and I absolutely loved that. I also loved, when Telecon, I don't know what you want to call them, the people of Telecon.
The Teleconians? I don't know.
Yeah, but when they came out of water, that their skin turned blue because of lack of oxygen. I thought just little subtle things that were done really clever, and I really enjoyed that. So with that being said, should we go ahead and get into the monkeys?
Yes, may as well.
For Wakanda Forever. All right. So do you want me to go first? You want to take the lead on this one?
I'll let you go.
Okay. So I'm gonna give Wakanda Forever a 9 out of 12.
Ooh.
And it's there's nothing to take away from this other than the fact that really what I was trying to allude to earlier, just how I feel like Marvel has kind of been trying to use a lot of its base right now for an Endgame, for an Infinity War. And I feel like a lot of these movies have become, and again, this is just my opinion, how I feel, kind of rushed to get these characters out there, establish them, have this importance, to where you can't really soak in like the quality of like what what was at stake here and like what happened in this movie. I think that there were bigger events for them to explore, and a lot of them were overshadowed by introduction of other characters or just trying to move a plot forward to be like, well, this is Black Panther now. And I just don't feel like it worked for me in totality that way. Mm-hmm. That being said, I 100% agree. This movie, honestly, out of almost any Marvel movie I've ever seen, has had some of the most fantastic acting I've ever seen on screen for a Marvel movie. I mean, everybody that had a role in this movie just was flawless to just almost a fault. Like this set a stage and a precedent for Marvel movies that I think is going to be hard to match again because of how good the acting was. I mean, there were so many scenes in this movie that I was literally like on the cusp of tears consistently because of how good the acting was. It was just fantastic. And the scenes that were heavy in this movie were very heavy. Yeah. And they felt very...
It wasn't all heavy, but when it got there,
it was so heavy and it was done so well, and the acting was so fantastic that you really felt the emotion of the loss here.
Yeah.
That
from everybody.
From everybody. And so that is the one thing that I took away from this movie that I really enjoyed. Just again, by far the most fantastic acting I've seen in a Marvel movie. To be honest, I think ever. I mean, you have some good.
There's some great
standalone actors in Marvel movies. As an entire cast in a Marvel movie, everybody did such a fantastic job. It was just incredible. Yeah. But again, I just think that Marvel needs to go back to what its formula was, because I feel, at least in my opinion, they're getting away from that and they're moving towards more. To be honest, I feel like what DC was trying to do when they were trying to create their cinematic universe. But
I'm gonna go ahead.
9 out of 12. I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with that. Right before I get into my monkeys, I'm gonna just go ahead and disagree with that. I'm gonna keep this real quick. I don't think that's. I think the problem is we know the formula. This is the same formula that it was since phase one. That's the thing. I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing. It's been the same formula since phase one. The problem is I'll agree that they're every single film has introduced something new and then introduced a new character, introduced something that is going to be something going forward. We do know what this end game is, whereas before we never knew what the end game was. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, it's a blot in your memory about like remembering what the initial first phase was. Even no one knew how this was going to go, if we were ever actually going to really get an Avengers movie or going forward, and what was going to come out, what was going to not come out. The problem is now that we have lesser known characters to introduce. We ran out of the bigger names, and some of the bigger names we have to save a little bit. So Riri being my only problem with Riri is they ate up too much time with her. Namor being introduced, they did it fine, and he's awesome. And the fact that he kept him alive is also awesome. And he can go forward, and he can be either a hero or maybe possibly a villain, or just kind of just follow his normal comic book character arc of being back and forth. Yeah. But I don't know, man. This has been the formula the entire time. I think we're just starting to notice it now a little bit more because we know things that are coming.
And that could be the case too, because obviously at this point we are getting so much more Marvel content consistently.
It's a matter. I think it's a matter of simple perspective.
It could be, and that's what it could be: simple perspective and being maybe overwhelmed and kind of already knowing what the formula is. But again, I think that there were elements of this movie that were lost on me that took away from what I thought could have been done. Just a little bit better, and not trying to take anything away from it. This movie was a great movie, but it wasn't perfect.
That's a perfect segue. I'm going to give it 11 out of 12. I feel like I've said my piece of why I'm giving it 11 out of 12. It was just a tad bit too long. We both said the acting is fucking phenomenal, but it was a tad bit long, and there are times you feel that length, like you feel it going a little bit too long. I mentioned a couple. There's a couple, even though the music's really good. There's a couple, like 2 or 3, kind of montages or kind of scenes that have basically kind of play a full song, and it's like a 6-minute long song that could have just been cut down. Riri's whole stuff at the end could have been cut back. Hell, the whole thing with the Midnight Angel with Ao. I'm sorry, not Ao. Anika and Okoye. That could have been cut out. Like, you didn't need the Midnight Angel stuff. I get why they did it is because the Midnight Angels were like kind of ex-Dora Milaje in the comics, and Okoye does get excommunicated from the Dora Milaje. So they kind of just did it as like a way to give her another superhero type stance or status. So I get that. But again, could have been cut. And maybe that one I'll even like kind of get more on your side about like who cares about the Midnight Angels? You don't need to introduce that. Eric Killmonger comeback was the biggest surprise of this movie. I mean, like that's the only real big spoiler that was I think we've even said, because that one is. I think you even like you were like behind, next to me and you were like when it turned the throne and he says, "What's up, cuz?" And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming. Because, I mean, T'Challa saw his father. You think maybe that she'd see her father as well.
Yeah.
Or they would have done a CGI T'Challa.
Yeah. And I just love that they didn't. I just love that they didn't.
Even though his family is totally fine with it.
They had the flashbacks and that worked.
And that flashback worked very well.
The flashbacks just worked really well when she's sitting at the fire and she's burning the ceremonial robes. It just worked really well just to see those flashbacks. It was great. I loved it. I mean, perfect send-off.
Yeah, it was
as well as you could do it. Yeah. You know, I mean, honestly, it was fantastic.
So that's really all I got. I mean, I have no other complaints. Acting was amazing, and Letitia Wright, and I mean they won't because the Academy sucks. Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett for sure just deserve Oscars and all the awards for this.
Angela Bassett in this film, absolutely, hands down. I mean, it's some of the best acting I've seen all year, if not the best acting I've seen all year with her character playing Ramonda. I mean, honestly, it was fantastic. But yeah, I think the last thing we should touch on before we finish this up, obviously, the cut scene. We get the introduction of Black Panther's son, T'Song.
Also known as T'Challa.
Yes, T'Challa, and I mean, what a cute little kid, man! I just thought
that was fun.
I thought his, just great. It was a fun little scene at the end there, and I love what they did with that.
Yeah,
so
it's. I don't know. See, that's kind of one of those scenes where, and I get why they didn't do like a big kind of like something else coming type of mid-credit scene or post-credit scene, because obviously this was dedicated to Chadwick Boseman, and we don't need an introduction to something else.
Yes.
Or some kind of tease for something else, even though realistically this is a tease for maybe something in the multiverse. Like future young T'Challa as another Black Panther. That was not needed.
Yeah.
So,
but I thought it was
cute.
Well done.
It was a cute scene.
You know, I think kind of reminiscent of the only endearing scene of Thor.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing that you were gonna say.
We're filming this today. We're filming this on the day we found out Kevin Conroy passed away. The voice of Batman for many, many years, and anything that wasn't live action.
Anything that wasn't live action. Kevin Conroy. I mean, animated series. Our entire life growing up.
Injustice, the Arkham games. Did play Batman in the DC Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover on CW.
So, and probably one of the most iconic voice actors of all time in regards to holding a character outside of maybe Mark Hamill being his counterpart as the Joker. So we did just want to say
rest in power,
Kevin Conroy. But that being said, everyone, we hope you really enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Sorry if I seem a little off. I really just got done from a challenge of not imbibing for 75 days. And so this is one of my first weekends being able to do so. And, a little loose, but have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
M'Baku. sure he's trying to recreate the black, almost the black-eyed herb. But I mean the heart-shaped herb.
I got a feeling.
Yeah, I guess. instead of Nirvana's heart-shaped box.
All right. Cool. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. And hey, everybody, welcome back to
you didn't do 3, 2, 1.
Okay, sorry.
I'm snapping.
Well, because I thought. All right. All right.
I know. I hate when I do funny things off camera.
I know. It's a waste of
or record funny things and then
it's a waste of good material.
and then it's there's no sound for some odd reason. Simply because the computer needs to be restarted.
Yeah. Is that what happened? That's the sound a poopy makes.
You're lucky. I just want poop, so.
I feel like I might have to at some point,
That's
but
fine.
I hope not. I don't.
It's totally fine if you got it.
Shitting in public is not my favorite thing.
It's not in public. It's in my house. I'm not making. You're not a bear.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, you're not a bear. I'm not making you go outside and just
shitting outside of a place that is not mine.
No, for sure.
Is not my favorite. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's anybody's favorite, which is so weird. It's just like you gotta poop. But then again, have you ever walked into a bathroom and someone else is in there just using the urinal and you're just like, nope. That's also weird. It's like...
No, I've never done that, no. But I have gone into restrooms before and it's, people are like on the phone, which I think is weird.
Yeah, don't be on your phone in the bathroom.
I don't know.
Do not be on your phone in the bathroom. That's weird. Urinal or otherwise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. How may I help you?